The thing that I think we're most kind of provoked by was, I guess, loosely triggered by a conversation on Twitter prompted by the André 3000 album.
Which you discussed.
I did on Original Recipe Popcast. Shout out Zach, shout out Sadie. Very good episode. Got good feedback on that episode.
It's an ambient episode.
It is. It actually is like low-key an ambient episode. In the interview that André did with Zach for GQ, Zach sort of is pushing him on why he's not rapping. And Andre's like, well, what am I going to rap about? Like, I'm 48. He's 48, right?
Something like that.
He's like, what am I going to rap about? Like, my eyesight's not great. Like, colonoscopy.
I'm 48 years old, and not to say that age is a thing that dictates what you rap about, but in a way it does. And like the things that happen in my life, like what do you talk? Like I got to go get a colonoscopy. Like what do you, what do you rap about? You know what I mean? Like my eyesight is going bad. Like,
now, of course, André 3000, one of the great rappers of all time, technicians, one of the great creative idea generators, one of the people who fundamentally broke the idea of what hip-hop was supposed to be in the early to mid-2000s, and almost all of us are living in the shadow of that, knowingly or otherwise. But it did sort of bring up the question, like, what does middle-aged rap sound like? And this is something we've touched on before. I was talking to Karen, actually, earlier, talking about Jay-Z, and she said, I will never forget running the photo of Jay-Z on the water ski, like on some piece I wrote X amount of years ago.
About whether Jay was too old to rap.
Something along those lines. And she's like, that's seared in my brain. Maybe we could find that photo and throw it up here. But André says, in essence, I have nothing to rap about. I shouldn't be rapping. That's not what rap is for. Now, I happen to think that's wrong.
I happen to think it's right.
I know, you mentioned. Maybe start with why you think it's right.
Music is for young people. Music is... Yeah, see you, John. I'm aging out. Look, I'm aging out. I'm like, maybe... Bye, John. Sit down.
What? Not accurate.
I'm being a little bit glib, but I do think music, unlike most other art forms, this is a take that I've had at the bar for many years and that I stand by. There is no musician in history, in popular music, whose later...
You want to get, like,
I'm not... I don't want to
here?
hear from Zach Wolf on this. I just don't. I don't know anything about classical music.
Yeah.
There's no musician whose later career music is better than their early career music. And I don't feel this way about writers, novelists. I don't feel this way about film directors. I don't feel this way about actors.
I wish I had prepped for this. I'm sure there's an...
There's no...
I'm sure there's a counter argument.
There is no answer. Like there is... I mean, I've heard Tom Petty, you know...
Never.
I've heard... Shout out to Teddy. He gave me that one once. I've heard, you know, some people would say Dylan, but it's like, you can like stuff. Okay, and this is how I feel about old rappers. This is how I feel when I listen to 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne on Welcome to Collar Grove, the new edition of their mixtape, which we can talk about. It's how I feel when I listen to Rick Ross and Meek Mill also have a album out together, you know. That's how I feel.
Collaboration albums.
Yeah, I mean, old people, they need a crutch, literally
that is
and figuratively.
Not why that's happening, but okay, fine. Go on.
It's like the 7th season of a Showtime show. If you're invested, you still might get a nice moment. You know, you still want you want to follow the saga. Same thing as being a Drake fan.
You believe in the lore.
If you believe in the lore, you might get a performance where you're like, oh, like Wayne sounds really athletic. He almost sounds like when I really loved his music. Like, but other than that, I think that it comes down to a little bit of music being id, and like you want as little between, we've talked about this, little between what you're feeling and what comes out. And to me, that is like fundamentally a young person thing.
Well, let me ask this, like, is that not a reflection of your aging more than it is a reflection of the artist's aging? Because you are not at the place in your life where you have that unfettered access to id that you had when you first engaged.
So I want to get it from Playboy Cardi and his children.
I mean, you want to be maybe near it, or you're open to the idea that what Cardi is doing is a rough equivalent for like what Wayne did at a certain point. So like, how much of this is actually about artist aging? Now look, sidebar, most artists' later work don't bother me with it. No, I'm not disputing it.
Sure.
I just think it's not impossible to find grace and elegance and a different path towards beauty in a different phase of life that a young person could appreciate an older artist's music or an age appropriate. I mean, we sort of talked a little bit about like Griselda and stuff, and it's like I feel like a lot of like, I was thinking a lot about this when I had satellite radio for that 1 month a few weeks ago. There's like a Shade 45 type rap fan. You know what I mean? Like real like bars, like Scratch Magazine alum type energy with respect. Like these are all my friends. That kind of person, I think, like is excited about like the 6th album from some artists who like raps exactly like they rapped on their 5th or 4th or 3rd or 2nd album, because they're seeking to fill a hole that's like the exact same size. They're not looking for necessarily innovation. They're looking for things that retell a familiar narrative. But I think for me, when I'm looking at younger artists, I'm looking for things that are novel or unexpected. But even when I'm listening to older artists, I think it's possible for an older artist to do a thing that is unexpected in the context of their character, in the context of their ongoing work. I mean, this is where the Jay-Z 444 conversation comes in.
Great album.
Really, really good album. I don't know if I love it as much as like in the moment where you're like, I can't believe he did this. And then like maybe 3 months later, you're like, okay, how often do I go back to this?
And yet it's like the gold standard for album by old people.
But if André, here's the thing. André.
Up there with like Leonard Cohen and Johnny Cash.
André, here's the thing. Wants to rap, great. Doesn't want to rap, great. It's not our problem. Like, it's whatever choice. It's fine. I think if he found a path to a rap album or an album with rapping on it at this age on whatever subject matter he felt was right, I'm willing to bet that we would feel about that album very similar to how people felt about 444.
I agree.
And I also think the thing that I think Tyler said to me about Pharrell on the Louis Vuitton story, but also said to André, maybe it's in one of the André interviews. I don't know if it's in the GQ or maybe the Guardian.
Tyler, the Creator,
sorry. And he says, like, you basically innovating and trying things and going in unexpected directions let us know the full range of future opportunities available to us. And my only frustration with André saying, like, rap is not it, obviously it doesn't have to be, you know, like, podcasting doesn't have to be it for us. You know, it's like people can grow and change and evolve. But the notion that rap as a form could not accommodate some kind of evolutionary step, subject matter-wise, flow-wise, texture-wise, that to me seems wrong. And I think there are people who still work, and if they're chipping away at like a very familiar thing that they do, but they still do it at an advanced age, that's fine. But there are people who probably are also trying new things. And I thought if anybody would be a person who's like, rap is limitless, rap can do anything, you would expect it to be André. But
yeah, but Flute, here we are. Look, I think form-wise, sure, you can talk about anything you want in rap, but typically what we're drawn to are stories of come up, stories of struggle, stories of
circumstantial.
No, I don't think so, but because it's been that way for 50 years now.
But that's you. But again, I think you're looking at young music made by young people for young listeners, but that doesn't mean that you can't arrive at middle-aged music made in a slightly more progressive mean for middle-aged listeners or, God forbid, the elderly.